Thank you, Lisa. This is Brittany, everyone, and I'm here with Dara, as Lisa just introduced.
Hi, everyone.
So, as you guys know, this week we're going to be talking about social and sharing. So, especially because this week is about social media, please make sure that you guys remember to use this AIP hashtag. So, if you're doing any live tweeting or later at the end of the session, if you want to tweet some feedback or your thoughts on the session, please do so and please include the hashtag. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to go over today. So there's so much that we can talk about in terms of social media, but this time with the revamped curriculum that we did for AIP, we wanted to make sure that we talked about things big picture, but also some really good tactics that you guys can pretty much immediately start implementing, and also some newer things like Instagram and search and respond on Twitter. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is social media and ZMOT. So I'll review with you what ZMOT is and where social media fits into that. Then we're going to cover Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google Plus individually as platforms, and just a few of the things that you can do with each of those platforms. Then after that, we're going to talk about social sharing. So how to use all of this content that Lisa and Mandy were explaining to you how to create and how to share it on social media so that you get more bang for your buck, if you will. After that, we're going to talk about tracking your progress. So it's one thing to keep doing social media and to see that you're getting engagement and you're getting more likes and followers, but we're going to show you some specific metrics so you can really measure your success and explain to your manager and possibly people above them the true value of everything that you're doing. After that, we'll summarize everything we've covered, and of course, there'll be time for questions at the end. So if at any time anyone has any questions, please type them in the box there. There's no problem. I tend to get excited about this kind of stuff, so I talk a little fast sometimes. So if I'm going too fast, please just let me know to slow down. All right, so social media and the 0 moment of truth. So if you've never heard of ZMOT before, it stands for Zero Moment of Truth, and it's that period of time when people are conducting research before deciding on making a purchase. So for car dealers, for example, that whole period of time between when they were first exposed to your dealership through traditional marketing or advertising like television, commercials, radio ads, billboards, things like that, and the time when they come into the store. So any of the research that they do online, anytime they look at your social profiles, your website, anything like that is part of that ZMOT research phase. So the whole goal of everything digital marketing is to make sure that you show up positively, and distinguish yourself from your competitors during that research phase so that these potential customers choose you and choose to go to your dealership. Social media fits in because it's part of the ZMOT, so it's part of the phase where they're doing research. So a lot of people are influenced by their social networks, but also by the content that they find on social networks about your particular dealership or your business. And then social media comes in play again during the second moment of truth. The second moment of truth is the period of time when they experience your product and experience the overall customer service of your dealership or your company, and they decide whether it was favorable or not. And a lot of times it's spread by word of mouth. And back in the days before social media, that's how their experience was spread. People told their family, their friends, their coworkers, anyone that they had in their networks. But now with social media, they're sharing it pretty much with the world. So if they have a good experience or they don't, they may be talking about it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Google Plus. So it's important that you're there so you can monitor it, and also so that you can use the good things that people say and share them so that the next person during their ZMOT can use the positive things that your other customers have said about you. So we wanted to introduce to you something called the functions of social media. This was written about by Jason Falls. Those of you who have done any research about social media on the internet have probably come across him one time or another. Lisa and I actually saw him speak last year. So this was one of the biggest takeaways that we got from seeing him. And he just explains these functions of social media. And to me, it really rounds everything out and makes it really clear the whole reason why you should have your business on social media. So of course, it's enhancing brand awareness, so exposing your brand to more people so that more people are aware of you. Of course, protecting your reputation. Enhancing public relations by allowing for two-way communication. So true public relations does include two-way communication. So not just the business out to the world, but the consumers back to the business. And social media makes that really easy. Building a community, so connecting with other non-competing businesses in your market and really connecting with your customers. Enhancing customer service by giving them an additional way to reach out to you, an additional way to give them information about your products and services. Facilitating research and development by learning more about your audience. Because social profiles include so much information, you are now able to access all this information about your target market that you otherwise may not have had access to. And then lastly, of course, driving sales and leads. So just keep all of this in mind. Everything that you do on social media for your business should be trying to meet one of these functions. So the first platform that we're going to cover today is Twitter. So I'm going to let Dara take over from here, and she'll go through this with you.
Thank you, Brittany. All right, so we're going to start with Twitter. This session does focus on social sharing throughout your social network. So as Twitter being the first platform, we wanted to go over hashtags. And hashtags are commonly used in most social strategies. Can everybody tell us whether or not they use hashtags on a daily basis when sharing? Good, good. All right, great. So everyone's heard of them or seen them, but few businesses really understand how to use them or really understand what they mean. Hashtags basically narrow a conversation on Twitter and they'll organize your tweets. So it's important to note that hashtags contain letters and or numbers, but there's really no spaces or punctuation. So in this example that you see on screen, social media is made a hashtag by just combining the two words and throwing the pound sign in the beginning of it. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, great. So moving on, we'll cover a couple hashtag examples that we've pulled from some of our clients and whatnot. So you can create your own hashtag, or you can use one that's already trending. So in this example, Freshpet is a national brand. So they use their hashtag, in this first example, they're using already trending hashtags to draw the attention of their national audience. So let's look at the first one, hashtag Black Friday. Black Friday is a trending national hashtag. So by using this hashtag, they were reaching out to their national audience. Same thing for Thanksgiving and the Turkey Day hashtag. National trending hashtags can also be used by local businesses, like in the second example we see here. Lakeland Automotive is a car dealership. And in this example, they use the Honda hashtag to draw attention to gain followers. So that's just an example of a local business using a national hashtag to, gain followers and draw more attention to their brand. So more importantly, you'll see in this example how they also included geo-targeted hashtags, the hashtag Sheboygan. That's great because they're pulling in a more relevant audience and they're increasing their brand exposure in the Sheboygan area. So when somebody's searching Sheboygan on Twitter, if they're searching around the time that the tweet was posted, depending on the span of how many times Sheboygan hashtag is used, that tweet will show up. In the last AIP presentation, Lisa and Mandy talked about, discussing using hashtags in SEO and how that works for organic search ranking. That's kind of in the way for using geo-targeted hashtags. That's kind of the same thing. So in this instance, you can think of the hashtag as the keyword. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that? About local versus national hashtags, or just any questions in general about hashtags so far? All right. Okay, now I have a question. Can anybody give us an example of a hashtag that would work well for their business? Anybody? Okay, Jason, classic Chevy. Yeah, that would definitely work. Ford, definitely. Ford's a national, that would be considered a national hashtag. That's a big brand. All right. Yep, Mazda. Thanks, Nick. Web dev, definitely that would work. These all seem like they're trending hashtags. So, I mean, sometimes, this is just an example. Say if your business is running a company event and they want to create a hashtag for the event. So, say the event's called Small Business Social Media Marketing. Instead of doing SMBS or whatever it might be, you could add a year to that, and that'll just kind of be able to target that hashtag, and you can have everybody use that hashtag, kind of in the same way that we have hashtag AIP 2012. So you can create your own hashtags, or you can use ones like all the examples you guys just gave us to, to follow off of. All right, moving on. So before you begin using hashtags, you want to make sure you test them so that they're relevant and that they'll gain visibility. So, for example, if you're tweeting about a specific special your business is running, you want to include hashtags that are relevant to the special. You don't want to go too off topic. So when you're using your hashtags, your goal is either to target a national audience or to target a local audience. So for both, you want to gain followers. But when you're targeting a local audience, you also want to increase brand exposure and turn followers into leads. I mean, that is overall the purpose, as Lisa stated earlier. So here are a few tactics that you might be able to use when you're tweeting with hashtags. The first one is when you're tweeting, if you have an article and you want to tweet it a couple different times with a couple different hashtags, that works really well because they'll show up in different places. We're going to give you an example of one that worked really well. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay. So Steve Murphy's PCG Digital Marketing's marketing manager. So he created a blog post about how to avoid writer's block. So we wanted to promote the article in more than one way using different hashtags. So we switched up the headlines, which would be in the first example, writer's block can be one of the biggest bumps, blah, blah, blah. You can see the hashtags are different in that one than the one underneath it, where the headlines need inspiration for your next blog idea. So that was and each time Steve was tagged in the post. So that was just a really good way of sharing the post differently, using different headlines and kind of probably reaching a different audience each time. All right, so now we're just, the next tactic that we're going to go over is coupons and specials, everybody's favorite. So because tweets are limited to 140 characters, it can be difficult sometimes, so it makes sense to share content more than once. So next, offering coupons and specials. So say you're a car dealership and you want to promote an oil change. You might use the hashtag oil change or hashtag automotive. That's basically pulling whatever you want to use, whatever the special is and whatever the industry might be. So those are good hashtags to use for pushing coupons and specials. Next, pushing tips and advice. People are always looking for tips. I do social media, so I like to tweet a lot about social media tips, and I use a commonly used hashtag, not too much used, like the Pinterest. There's a hashtag called Pinterest tip. That's used a lot by big people in the industry. I use the tip social tip. It's a little less common, so my tweets show up a lot more often when you search social tip. And lastly, just combining the tips with any of your coupons or specials or anything that you're giving away. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your tip is short because of the limiting characters, and that you're enticing your followers in the same way. So in your business, say your business is a car dealership, you might say, did you change your tires yet this winter? And then you offer the special, link it to the service page, and if you have enough room, you could even attach a picture of the special. But does anybody have any questions so far? Nope. All right. All right, now we're just going to do some live examples of hashtags. I'm going to do one, and then after that, you guys can volunteer and we'll do some live examples of tweeting from my Twitter account. So let's see. All right, so NADA, for most of you know, whoever's in the automotive industry knows that NADA is a huge annual event for the automotive industry. So if people were going to use the hashtag NADA, so you enter that in. Okay, now you'll see that a lot of the tweets that come up are irrelevant to the actual topic that we're, in regards to what we're talking about for NADA. So now if you add the year to it, you'll see people talking about the conference. So that's just a good example of how hashtags work and how sometimes they might not work. All right, can somebody give me an example? Come on. Detroit Lions 2012. Let's see. Unfortunately, wait, let's add an S to that. Oh, maybe we'll take out Detroit. Or no, let's take out the year. Yep. So Detroit Lions comes up. How great is that? So this works really well for your social strategy, especially, if you're in the Detroit area and you want to use a hashtag like this to tweet about maybe the previous game or whatever is going on that week in sports. So that's a really good example. I could do one more. Anybody? Come on. Somebody give us a geo-targeted example. Okay, perfect. Ford Motor Company. So when you search hashtag Ford Motor Company, you'll see it's not actually tweeted as often as I thought it would be, but again, that works really well. And sometimes that's better because your tweet will stay at the top of the search for a longer period of time. So you might want, in this case, you might want to think something like a more national brand that we talked about earlier, like Ford. It just makes more sense for, your strategy. All right, so let's move on. All right. Brittany mentioned this earlier. This is something kind of new, search and respond. It's actually a search tool that Twitter lets you use. So in order to do it, you'll see the picture right here, advanced search. When you search something, it gives you the option on the top right to either save your search or do an advanced search. So you click advanced search, and this would just be, just helps businesses look for people in their area based on specific keywords or specific locations. So say you're a car dealership and you want to see what people are saying in your area about oil changes. You might type in oil change and maybe your city. So our city would be Eatontown, New Jersey. So see what people are saying in Eatontown, New Jersey about oil changes. A lot of the results that'll come up are either people saying something like, I need an oil change, or excuse me, or that was a really expensive oil change. So this kind of opens a window for you to respond and then offer them your service, along with a link to your specials page or somewhere for them to go to receive the special. All right, so let's do an example. We'll use the oil change example, and we will do, let's think of a common city. Let's do, one of our clients is here, Keyport, New Jersey. Okay, so you see the first one. I mean, it's a conversation between this Twitter user and somebody else, but it's him saying that he needs an oil change. So something like that, if you're, if you target that specific area and you see that people need oil changes, you can you can write them back, send them a link to the service page, and let them know that you're available, or tell them the discount right there on the tweet. All right. So just some other helpful search tools, Twellowhood and Twilert. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of these if you're familiar with Twitter search. Twellowhood is a tool that's used pretty much the same way Twitter search and respond is used. It's used to find users in your area. Twilert's a little different. You can set it up. It's a web app that you set up, so you receive email updates of tweets containing specific keywords that you're looking for. So you choose your keywords. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the stuff that we went over for Twitter? All right. No questions? Then we'll move on. All right. Now Brittany's going to talk to you guys about Instagram.
Okay, so in the grand scheme of all of the platforms that are out there and the platforms that are most widely used, Instagram is a little bit like the new kid on the block. So, how many of you have personal Instagram accounts? Okay, a few of you. Now, how many of you have Instagram accounts for your company? Okay, a few people don't have personal, a few people have one or the other or neither. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar, just in case, let's just summarize a little bit. Basically, it's an app that you download onto your smartphone or your mobile device, so it works on tablets as well, but it allows you to take pictures with it and then apply filters and you can make pictures look more fancy. So you can make it in black and white or sepia tone or all types of other filters. So there are photographers out there who are a little upset about this because they're the ones with the skills and the fancy equipment, and now this app is making it easy for even the most amateur of amateur photographers make things look fancy. But regardless, it's a good app for social media because it's two things. One, it's a tool, and two, it's a social platform. So when you take pictures with it and apply filters, you can actually share those photos on Instagram. So you can gain Instagram followers and get people to engage with you right on Instagram. However, if your head is spinning and you're thinking you already have enough to do and you don't want to keep up with the Instagram as a social platform, that's totally fine. I still think it's a great tool. And the reason why it's such a good tool is because it takes pictures, and because of the filters, it makes them a little more artsy, which makes them a little bit more social friendly. Things on social media, especially with Facebook, people are presented with so much noise, if you will. They're presented with so much content from so many businesses and all of their other connections that you really need to stand out in order for people to engage with you. So these types of photos do stand out on a news feed or on a timeline or something like that. So they're likely to get more engagement. So, like Twitter, but unlike Facebook or Google Plus, you don't have to create a personal account and then create a business account from that. Just like Twitter, you just create one account and that's your business account, and you don't have to worry about linking it to a personal account. So, if you don't have one yet and you want to set it up, it's very easy. You just simply set up the one account for your business. Also, it is free. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier, but it's free. So you can get it either at the App Store or from Google Play, depending on whether you have Apple or Android. And Instagram themselves describes their product as fast and beautiful photo sharing. So you open Instagram on your phone or your mobile device, take a picture, click which filter you want, and then you either click share or save. And that's it. So it's pretty quick. So you can post it to Instagram, like I said, but if you don't want to, you can save the photo and share it on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus, which is where we see the true value of these photos. So, what kind of photos do you take? Well, first of all, don't just blast your inventory or your product. So, for car dealers, don't just go around and take a picture of every single car on the lot. Those of you who have other businesses, don't just take a picture of every product that you have or descriptions of your services or things like that. Think social. People compare social media to a cocktail party. So, when you're at a cocktail party, even if it's a networking event, you don't only talk about your business. You talk about other things going on. You talk about things that you have in common as far as your where you live or things like that. So showcasing the human side of your business is huge, and that's something that Instagram really lets you do in a very creative way. So taking pictures of things that convey your company culture, that showcase really unique or creative things having to do with your products. So no, you don't want to go out and take a picture of every single car that you have, but depending on your brand, like if you have Skyactiv technology or there's a brand new dashboard on one of your vehicles when it comes out in 2013, or there's any new feature, new lights, or something like that where it's kind of unique, you can zoom in with your phone, just get closer to it, and take a picture of that one in particular feature. Things like that. So, around your business, so if you have a physical location, taking pictures of decorations during right now, it's perfect timing because the holidays coming up, but for any holiday or any changes to your showroom or to the inside of your store, taking pictures of those types of things are all really great types of content. Now, a few minutes ago, Dara was talking about hashtags for Twitter, but hashtags are also used on Google Plus, which we'll get to in a little bit, and on Instagram. So, hashtags like holidays or Skyactiv or something like that are national hashtags, again, like Dara was explaining. So, you want to include a good mix of hashtags in your captions for all these photos if you post them right on Instagram. So, some type of holidays, but also maybe the city that you're located in or the nearest, largest metro area close to you. Things like that so that you're attracting both a national and a local audience. Also, make sure that you include captions. Sometimes people just post a photo or they post it with just the photo and the hashtags and forget a caption. But tell people why you're sharing this. Why do you think it's Instagram worthy? Why do you think it's worthy of being posted on one of these other platforms? Give a connection back to your business that shows your audience what you're about and why you're including that photo. Does anyone have any questions about Instagram so far before I go ahead and explain how to post it on other platforms? Okay, seems clear? No? Okay, straightforward. So is this something that anyone thinks that they might start using now and that they think they'd be able to use for their business? A few of you? Okay, good. All right. So Dara's going to talk a little bit about Facebook in a second, but visuals are huge on Facebook. We've already talked about this, right? Everyone knows this. Pictures tend to get more engagement. So as we talk about the other platforms, as we move forward through the rest of today's presentation, think about what types of pictures you might be able to take on Instagram and share onto these other platforms. So if you guys have any ideas at the end, then we'll be able to share them. So start thinking about that. So Dara, if you want to talk about Facebook.
All right. Thanks, Brittany. Okay. So as you know, as a business, person of a business of a company, you're one of the things you're always looking for when you sign into your Facebook business account is the number of likes. Can you let us know if that's the first thing you look for when you sign in? Just yes or no. All right, great. So yeah, while likes are very important for your page's engagement, as it says here, is what increases your edge rank. So, edge rank is an algorithm that some of you might know about, but it pretty much decides how often and how high you show up in your fans' news feeds. So you can have all the likes in the world, but if nobody's engaging with your page, then you might need to rethink your strategy. So here are 3 factors that the most common factors that determine engagement: comments, likes, shares. So when people are commenting on your posts, liking your posts, or sharing your posts with their fans or their friends, if it's coming from a personal account. Something to always remember is to thank people when they're engaging with you. If somebody comments on your post, thank them. Let them know that you saw it and that you appreciate their feedback. Also, when people are liking your post, make sure you like their post back if they're also a business. And when somebody shares something from your page, you can actually go into that. If you click the share button below the post, you can actually thank that person by just writing a comment, thanking them for sharing it, thanking them for recognizing your post. Does anybody have any questions about EdgeRank or how we decipher engagement? All right. Great. James, I see you said engagement first, then likes. That's great. All right, moving on. So this is just a statistic that was taken from Social Media Examiner. If you want to just look at it for a second. So you can easily post photos from your Instagram onto your Facebook page, kind of like what Brittany was just talking about. It just looks really great because you can filter your photos and make them more visually appealing. I will show you guys an example of a client. It's a liquor store that has done this, and it works really well. All right, you can see there that the basket, this is a holiday basket, and it was made using the brands of Cavett Wines, and they actually tagged Cavett Wines into the post. And you'll also see a couple great things that they included in the post, stuff that we're going to get into it in a little bit. All right. Next, creating interesting photo albums that tell a story. So say maybe your employees or you and a bunch of your friends from your business go to an event, say it's like a marathon, and you take photos from the second you begin throughout till the second you end. That's telling a story. So that's great because you're showing, and then you post the album on Facebook. So you're showing any of your page visitors or any of your fans that the human side of your business and that from beginning to end the event that you attended. And showcasing happy customers and staff members. This is something that we find to be most important for your Facebook page. Showcasing pictures of, if you're a car dealership, showcasing pictures. If you pick one spot in your dealership, take a picture of a customer every time a car rolls off the lot with the employee that sold the car, and just put them into the album. Every time you take a picture, post it through the album. That way it'll share on your wall as well as save into your photo album. So just make sure, though, that you're asking for permission, and you label your photo album something like happy customers. You see it all the time. People do it all the time. Lastly, the biggest reasons that people follow you is probably for special offers, coupons, promotions, any incentives. So for example, a post offering a coupon might look something like this. It might include the text as the tip. So you might say something like, kind of back to the example we used earlier. When was the last time, you got your tires checked or your tires changed? The winter's coming up. So make them think about it. Share a photo, either if it's from the main website or just something that you use from your Shutterstock or any of your photos, and then use a call to action and mobilizing information, which we'll also go over in a little bit. So it might your call to action and mobilizing information might say something like, to receive this offer, click here, and then include a link. Or, if it's to contact or reach out to somebody at your business, you might say something like, call so and so at so and so number. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Looking good. Let's move on to Google Plus with Brittany.
Okay, so again, let's see how many of you have Google Plus for personal or for your business. Just write personal or business or both or neither. Both. Great. I like to see that. Both. You guys are shocking me here. Both. All right. Good. All right. I like to see that. So then I don't have to tell you guys that Google Plus is Google's new social platform. So they've essentially listened to the masses and have taken what people liked best about Facebook and fused it with what people like best about Twitter. Now, you would think that that would mean that there's a ton of people on it and that people are adopting it left and right, but however, they're not, as I'm sure you have noticed. Now, as of right now, the primary audience of the people who make up users on Google Plus are people in technology, business, marketing, advertising, anything internet related. So those different industries are the ones who are currently making up most of it and who are most active on it. However, just like with SEO, Google tends to value historical value. So the longer that your website is up, for example, or the longer that you've been writing about a specific location or a specific brand, those things are important to Google. And therefore, we think that it's extremely important that businesses all be on Google Plus to make sure that they are gaining that historical value. Now, it's a social platform with search objectives. And what that means is it is a social platform. So things should be social in nature. So the posts should be something very similar to what you're posting on Facebook, since the posts show up in a very similar manner. But it also is starting to show up in search engines. And people also search on Google Plus and can search content on Google Plus, which people can't do yet on Facebook. So, for example, you can't type in Ford Sheboygan and expect to find content throughout Facebook when you're using Facebook search. But you can do that on Google Plus. So therefore, the content in your Google Plus posts have to be somewhat optimized. So in previous sessions of the AIP, you've talked about keywords and optimization. So just use some of that knowledge that you have, keep it in your mind when you're creating posts on Google Plus. So essentially, each day when you're going through each platform and you're posting something, when you get to Google Plus, think Facebook strategy plus hashtags, because basically that's what it is. So you want to be primarily visual, but you want to include more text on Google Plus than you normally would on Facebook, and you need to include hashtags the same way that you would on Twitter. And just like Dara cautioned you with testing the hashtag on Twitter before actually using it, you should do the same on Google+. Now, one important distinction to make, and being active on Google+, you guys probably know this already, but there is a difference between Google+ and the Google+ One. So on your website, you should have Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus icons somewhere so that people can access your social profiles from your website. But you should also have a Google Plus One button, which looks very similar to this red one here on the screen. Now, the Google Plus One is tied to the individual who's doing the plus oneing. So, for example, if you sent me a link to your website and I went to it and you had the plus one button and I clicked it, then that would be tied to my personal Google Plus page. It's not actually tied to your business page. And what it does is it gives Google the idea that you as an individual endorse this website. So every website that I've gone around and clicked the plus one button, I'm telling Google that I endorse this website. So it tells Google that people are seeing it, that people like it, and they like it enough to endorse it. And it just gives some social signals to Google, and it is showing up in Google Analytics. So they rarely include things in analytics that they don't take into account themselves. So just take that as a hint that it is important. So it's just one of those things that should definitely be added to your website if it's not already. And later we'll talk about social sharing and how the plus one button has to do with that as well. So throughout the actual platform of Google Plus, there's different plus ones because, of course, Google doesn't like to make anything easy on us. So within the platform itself, anytime you see plus one, just think of the Facebook like. But anytime you see the plus one outside of Google Plus, just think about it as some type of social endorsement. Any questions about the difference between Google Plus and Plus One, or how to utilize the Plus One? No, it seems like you guys are getting it. Okay, all right. So, Google Plus is a social network, but it also includes a business listing. So, whereas in the past, Google used to have Google Maps and then they renamed it to Google Places, and now it is renamed Google Plus Local. And this is where reviews for your business are kept within Google. So, you can get reviews on Yelp, you can get reviews on Yahoo, you can get reviews on DealerRater if you're a car dealer, and other sites like that. But when it comes to Google, your reviews are kept on something called Google Plus Local. And this listing, when done properly, is attached to your website when your website shows up in Google results. And that's why it's so important. But Google did this year start including Google Plus Local within the Google Plus framework. So since most of you are saying you have businesses on Google Plus, it seems like everything is good to go. But if some of you still don't have Google Plus social accounts for your business, you want to create them so you can merge them with these reviews accounts. This way everything is seamless. Google sees everything as being the same business and there aren't any issues there. So if you have any questions about that right now, feel free to put them in the chat box. Otherwise, if you have any follow-up questions, once you go back and take a look at your listings, just send them over and we'd be happy to help you with that. Okay, so like I said, we're a little limited as far as what the audience currently is on Google Plus. Google is doing a lot to incorporate Google Plus with their other products and in order to encourage people to sign up. So hopefully we see the audience grow. So until then, I truly think that if you just post something very similar to what you're posting on Facebook to Google Plus each day and include those hashtags, then I think you have all of your bases covered and you'll be in good shape once more people start being active on the platform. All right, so there's no questions about Google Plus, so I'm going to pass it back to Dara now, and she'll go through social sharing.
All right. Social sharing. Why is it important? Why should you be sharing your engaging articles and your engaging content, photos, written content? Why should you be sharing it on your social networks? Endorsements. Endorsements are important. You want to endorse your brand in the best way possible. So you want to push valuable content, anything that endorses your brand in a positive way, and is engaging. You want to increase referral traffic. This is something that's not touched on enough with social media. Traffic to your main site through links from social media. So traffic from Facebook, like we talked about earlier, sharing coupons and things like that. Sharing traffic or sharing links from Twitter. Same thing, just sharing links to the websites that you want people to go to. And lastly, social proof. You want to gain as much social proof as possible because you want others to trust you and your expertise, and you want to influence their decision. You want them to do business with you. So what kind of content should you be sharing? Always original content. Either you have, if you're one of our clients and you're a car dealership, then you're probably coming up with a lot of really original blog content. You might have a third party doing this for you, or maybe you have somebody in-house doing your content for you, but it's very important to make sure that you're always sharing your content. Video content. If you have a YouTube channel, also very important. You might do customer testimonials. Share those. Let people see how great it is to do business with you and how others feel about doing business with you. If you're a car dealership, new model walkarounds, anything like that, those work. Those should all be pushed on social media. Anything, new products, even if it's just like a 20 or 30-second video of somebody in the business just explaining what the new product is about, what it has to offer. And photos, of course. You want to share customer photos. You want to share employee photos. Again, like Brittany said, this is a perfect time. It's the holiday season. So take pictures. In our office, we have lights all around the office because we're actually doing a holiday competition. So whoever has the best decorations wins. So this gets everybody in your business to, take full advantage. And we've been sharing the pictures online, and it does great. And it really just shows the company culture. Again, tips, advice, and specials. You want to offer all of these things to your fans because most likely if they're visiting your page for the first time, they're there because either they're looking to do business with a car dealership or whatever business it might be, and you want to pull them in and you want to attract their attention as much as possible. So share as much relevant content on all your networks as possible because you never know who you might reach. Does anybody have any questions about just the basics of sharing and what any of these things mean? All right, great. So let's move on to just a couple tips for sharing on social. So one of the reasons you're posting content, well, two of the reasons you're posting content is because you either want somebody to engage right away or you want them to click through to your website. So you're posting content on social media, always with hopes that your fans and your followers will do those two things. So when you're sharing on your networks, just make sure that you're clear and you're concise. You don't want to ramble words. You don't want to write too much. You don't want to give too little information. You want to give just enough information that they'll do what you want them to do. So this is what you see here are just a couple tips for social sharing and some advice. So keep it simple. Always be light on your wording. Use as many short descriptions and sentences as possible to get, the message across as quickly and shortly and as clearly as possible. Always have a call to action. Call to action, you're asking for engagement. Nobody's going to click through to a link if you don't tell them to click through. So you have to give them a reason if it's a special or an offer, and in hopes that they'll click through. You might say something like, click on this post to receive the printable version of this coupon. Just tell them what you want them to do and why you want them to do it. And of course, include your mobilizing information. And that's your steps to take, the steps that they have to take to do what you want them to do. You might include a URL to your service page. You might include a URL to your inventory page. Or you might include a phone number like we talked about earlier. Or if you're a car dealership, any of these three things: lead, contact form, email form, anything like that. Also, really important, include as many sharing icons as you can as possible on your website. So on your blogs, on your main website. This just gives page visitors the option to share your content on all of their networks. Like I said before, you never know who you're going to reach. And always think of your platform separately. So social sharing obviously varies per platform, as we've seen with a couple of the live examples that we did. So think about your audience and think about the best way to reach them. Does anybody have any questions about mobilizing information? I know it can be kind of confusing sometimes when to use which kind of information, or how you should be asking people to engage. Nope. All right. So I'm going to pass it back off to Brittany.
Thank you. Okay, there's a question here about Shareaholic. So it says here, add social sharing icons to your website. So before I had mentioned that you need to have the icons on your website so people can find your social profiles. But something like Shareaholic is a widget that works for WordPress, and I know you guys have been working with WordPress. So it's something that you can add so that on the top of all of your blog posts, people can just click the little Facebook like or click tweet and share it with their networks. So this reminds people that you want them to do this, and it reminds people that if they find it useful, they can share it with their networks. So this is something that's free. I do strongly suggest that you add this to your WordPress blogs if you have them, just to make sure that you get those social endorsements. Is anyone currently using Shareaholic or anything like that? No. Okay. All right. So next up is tracking your progress with Google Analytics. So you guys all know, as people who manage the social media, that you're working really hard. And when you can see the engagement every day and you're getting more followers and more likes, you know that what you're doing is working. However, sometimes an outsider, so perhaps your manager or the dealer principal or the CEO of your company, whoever's running things sometimes ahead of you, it's harder for them to see because they're not as in tune with social media. So, as your handout for this presentation, we have provided a template for a social media report. So, it points out what we feel, which metrics have the most ROI, so return on investment. So, whichever metrics really showcase your success as people who manage social media. So I believe as part of your homework, part of what you're going to have to do, and Lisa will talk to you about this, is to fill out this handout. Now, this will show you where you currently stand. So it'll serve as a benchmark report. And then in the future, as you start to implement some of the things that you're learning today and throughout the rest of the AIP, you can kind of show your progress. So this is something that we do encourage is done every month on the same day each month. And then this way you can show your progress over time. So there are platform statistics. So for example, I'm sure you're all familiar, there's Facebook Insights. So right within Facebook itself, there are insights. Twitter, although they promised that March of 2012 would bring us metrics, they did not deliver. So unfortunately, there are no metrics within Twitter right now. There are third-party services that you can download, many of them for free if you want to use them. Otherwise, you can just count things like how many likes, how many retweets you got, how many people are following you, how many lists your company is a part of, things like that. And that's all outlined on the handout. Lastly is Google Analytics. So this is huge. It's an unbiased indicator of how well you're doing. They don't side with the website platform you're using or any other third party or any vendor that your company might be working with. So it's pretty objective. And Google, as the largest search engine by a mile, it's good to know what they hold important, because the better you do in their metrics, then it might be more likely that you show up better in their search results. So for engagement, because we talked about how that's the most important thing, obviously people interacting with your individual pieces of content, so that each thing that you individually post to the different platforms is important. So liking things, commenting, and shares, as Dara mentioned earlier, plus ones, retweets, all those types of things are how you measure engagement. Website traffic is really what you're going to find in Google Analytics. So Twitter, Facebook, Google+, they all, within the profile section of those platforms, provide you with one field to give a link back to your website. And Facebook, you have to click 3 times in order for someone to even find it. So you're asking people to do quite a bit of work in order to find a link back to your website. And that's why social sharing is so important. And that's why a lot of your posts should include links back to your website. If your website showcases your inventory or your products or the services that you offer, that's really where you want people. You want them to know what you offer so that hopefully they can do business with you. So referral traffic. So people clicking from a link on Facebook or Twitter, Google+, anywhere that you put it, and going back to your website shows how engaging and convincing the content that you post on these social platforms truly is. So within Google Analytics, you can find referral traffic. So on the left-hand side, when you log into analytics, it says traffic, sources, referral. And then all you have to do is look for t.co for Twitter. And this is all in the handout. Facebook, YouTube, Google+. Does anybody currently use Google Analytics? Yes, yes, no, yes. Okay, good. All right, so some people familiar, some people aren't. So, Nick, Nicole, you both answered pretty much right away. You said that you do use analytics. Is referral traffic from social sites something that you've looked at before? Yes, definitely. All right, good, Nick. All right, so then this handout shouldn't be a problem for some of you. Okay, so while you're filling out the handout, it's important to make sure while you have all of us here and available to you that you test it out. Make sure that you know exactly where to find all of these metrics. So if you have any questions, please ask us. All right, some of you haven't found that yet. Okay, so check it out in Google Analytics, and if you have any questions, definitely let us know. Okay, before we go through the summary, does anyone have any questions for myself or for Dara about anything that we covered today? Okay, Nicole asks, how do you get people to like your page without being friends with them? Now, being friends with someone on Facebook is linked to your personal page, whereas getting someone to like your business page, that personal page is actually now no longer obvious to the audience. So if you are the person behind the business page, people don't know that. So, like you're saying, you need to get people to like your page. So the biggest thing is kind of including it in your process in your store. So whatever your business is, making whoever interacts with the customers or the clients, so whether it's a salesperson at a dealership or someone who works the register, just reminding them that you're on Facebook, possibly creating postcards and giving it to them. Depending on the purchase, they might be so consumed with other things going on that Facebook's not the first thing on their mind. So you really do have to remind them and encourage them and kind of make it personal. So tell them that you enjoyed working with them and you hope that they're happy with their purchase and that you encourage them to connect with you on Facebook. And of course, providing some type of incentive. So saying, please join us on Facebook to have access to exclusive deals and promotions. That's a really common one, but it works because, like Dara said earlier, that's a huge reason why people connect on Facebook. So I think reminding people about Facebook, making it personal, and making it obvious that you're on Facebook and that you listen, you're not just broadcasting sales, are really the key things. Great. Michael says that QR codes on the back of business cards work too. I agree. I think that QR codes are overutilized in the strangest ways and underutilized in simple and effective ways. So adding a QR code for your Facebook page, Twitter, Google Plus, things like that on the back of a business card or some type of postcard will make it easy for people to find your page on their mobile device and then click like right then and there. Good idea, Michael. Thank you.
I just wanted to throw one thing out there. You might have a really big following on Twitter compared to maybe your Facebook following. It does happen for a lot of people. So say you're running promotions through your Facebook page and you need people to like your page in order to enter the promotions. You'd be using Twitter, Google Plus, even Instagram for pictures. Not sharing links on Instagram, but telling people to direct back to your Facebook page and getting them to like your page. So you utilize other platforms as well.
Good idea. Good. Does anyone have any other questions? Nick, I know that you're kind of outside of automotive. So is there anything that we can address specifically for you? Any questions? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone today for your participation. It's definitely helpful to know who's on what platform before we go over each one. So that was very helpful. All right. Great. Oh, you're welcome to everyone saying thank you. All right. So I'm going to pass this back to Lisa. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And let us know if you have any questions as you're completing your homework from today.
Thank you, Brittany and Dara. You guys learned a lot and are ready to take your social media to the next level. Please reach out to either of them or myself, and I will get you in contact with them for any questions that you guys have as you're doing your homework. And updating social accounts for your company. I just have a couple announcements before we end today. The big one is about the midterm that is next week. Don't panic. It's really not a big deal. If you guys have been paying attention during this, you will do wonderful. So for next week, there will be a smaller presentation on paid search and search engine marketing. And then directly after that presentation, held via a website, you'll get a link to go to your online midterm. Now, while we recommend that you do it right then and there, we know that not everyone can make the weekly webinar. So the test will be open from that time until noon on December 27th. We don't have class on the 26th, so this gives you guys over a week to answer 25 pretty basic multiple choice questions. So, this midterm is really no big deal since a lot of your homework was really, hands-on in your dealership. We just want to make sure that you understand some of the terms that we've been going over. Does anyone have any questions on the midterm? Awesome. As Brittany was saying, for the homework, you will be benchmarking. We will send you a blank form to fill out. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's much better and easier than the keyword spreadsheet that you filled out in the beginning of the AIP. So I don't think there will be any questions. As Brittany said, updating it each month around the same time is great because it shows how you're growing and what your social media is actually doing for your dealership and company. In addition to that, is AIP on Instagram? The AIP isn't on Instagram. I know that PCG is and FCE is. No, they should get on Instagram. I'm going to get FCE on Instagram. We were actually talking about that this morning. But PCG Digital Marketing is on Instagram, and we will find you. Back to the homework. You will be taking the blog that you did last week and be putting it on your Facebook and Twitter accounts. Just share it the way that we taught you this week to share to your followers. And then, is there anyone here that doesn't have a Twitter account? All right, no one's saying anything, so I am going to assume that everyone has a Twitter account. All right, so since you do have a Twitter account, make sure that you're following FCE on Twitter. It's at First Class Educators, as well as PCG Digital is on Twitter as well. But there's a purpose to that. The homework for Twitter is to make sure your Twitter account is optimized. Dara went over great ways to optimize in search, and your account should be optimized the same way. Use a hashtag for your brand and a hashtag for your geo-target, and you'll have a better shot at showing up in Twitter search. As usual, that homework is all laid out for you and will be published live once the recording is on YouTube. All right, those are all the announcements I have. I just wanted you guys to not panic when you see that you have a midterm next week. I think everyone will do great, based on the interaction, the great questions you've been asking, and your homework assignments. So if you haven't done your blog, you definitely need to write it so that you can complete this week's homework. And reach out to me if you have any questions. All right, if there are no more questions, seems like everyone's pretty quiet and set. I will end this week. All right, well, thank you guys for a great week. I hope you learned a lot. I look forward to seeing what you guys are doing on your social accounts, and I will talk to everyone throughout the week. Thank you.